guys, welcome back to Beth's Naughty Reads. I'm Beth LaMontagne, and today I hope you guys are ready to get naughty as I discuss Nevessa Allen's Lights Out. This book has been all over social media. It's been a really big item on Book Talk, and so I'm sure you guys are familiar with it. So I'm super excited to talk to you guys about it. Before we get into the book, though, I'd like to take a moment to remind you guys to please give me a thumbs up and a follow and subscribe on YouTube, as well as follow me on my socials, so Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, also as Beth's Naughty Reads. Please take a moment to do that. That would help me out immensely. I love feedback. I'd love for you guys to share any recommendations you may have for me. So just take some time and do that for me. I'd appreciate it. So like I mentioned, today we're going to talk about Nevessa Allen's Lights Out. Nevessa is a New York Times best-selling author, as well as USA Today best-selling author. She's an Amazon Kindle best-selling author, as well as a viral TikTok and Book Talk sensation. I also learned while doing a little research on her that she transitioned from some really exciting careers. She was in the military and also an aeronautical engineer that she quit to do full-time writing. So you go, girl. She's smart. She wicked smart. So she just decided it was time to go full-time. And so she stopped those and became a full-time writer. And it seems to be working out for her. All right, let's dig into Lights Out. So this is the first book that I've read by Nevessa. I didn't know what to expect. I know she's got a handful of books out there, and I was looking and they all have great ratings. I had just had several people tell me that I should read this one, that I'd really enjoy it, and it'd be a fun review. So I decided, let's do it. It is a dark romance. It has two main characters. There's a lot of people in this book, but it has two main characters. Allie, I'm going to say her name wrong. I'm horrible with last names. Capelucci, I believe is how you say it. She is a hardcore trauma nurse. The hospital is short-staffed, so Allie sacrifices her personal life by working multiple 15-hour days. So she does a lot of back-to-back. She wears herself out. She's exhausted. Her escape after an exceptionally hard day is to scroll through her social media, and as she says it, scrolling for masked men thirst traps. I had to actually look up what a thirst trap is, even though my husband's probably told me 100 times. It is a sexy post, if you will. And so her things are masked men. And so she does like to, that's her release. So she does like to take a gander at those men. She does have some past trauma as a teenager that she realized later in the book is probably what's playing in her role to work so many hours, work so many days, not take time off for herself. And so she's decided the way that she can make up for this trauma is by taking care of everyone around her and neglecting herself, which we all know eventually you crash, right? The main male character is Josh Hammond. He is literally a real world shut-in, if you will. His father was a bad man. He was a bad man. You'll learn a little bit more about that in the book, but he was really bad man, and he is the spitting image of his father. So in his mind, if people look at him, they are seeing his father and not him, and automatically associating him with what his father did. And is he going to turn out the same way? So his whole world is really inside. His escape is really, again, being one of those masked men. He's a provocative online star with millions of followers. His videos, he is masked. He gives just enough skin and innuendos for you to figure out what he's doing. And he is Allie's favorite. He comes to recognize later in the book that she has commented on almost 100% of all his posts. So she really digs him, and he realizes that he knows her. So I will start, before we go a little further, just to share that there's trigger warnings with this book, quite a few. There's a lot of triggers in this book, so make sure you take a look at those in the book. They list them in the book. I think she also lists them on her webpage. It opens as a dark stalker romance, and then it turns into a really spicy rom-com. So I'd say spicy rom-com with heavy kink. So while it is dark, it's not super dark. But if you like dark stuff, you'll probably still really enjoy it. But it is flipping hilarious. The one-liners in this just killed me, and I literally found myself laughing out loud so often. So after an especially trying day at work, Allie texts an old flame. His name is Tyler. She texts him and says, "Hey, we haven't seen each other in a while. Would you like to get together this weekend and do this?" And she shoots him the latest post of the guy she follows. And of course, the guy's like, "What a freak. No, I'm kind of got a girlfriend now, so we can't do this." But turns out the boys are roommates. So Josh's roommate is Tyler, and Tyler shares with Josh that Allie sent him this really provocative scene playing text, and he's like, "I don't know, she's a weirdo, dude. No, I don't need that. I just need to get in and get out." Lo and behold, he's like, "Oh wait, I know her. We met one day over the summer when she couldn't sleep and he couldn't sleep, and they sat at the coffee table talking for hours over coffee." And he was immediately mesmerized with her, so he knows her, and they kind of he just forms a plot. So after a week of trying to talk himself out of it, he decides he's going to break into her house and fulfill her wish of being accosted by a masked man. Long story short, he's a computer hacker. He's great in getting things. So he just does all his magic, and lo and behold, gets into her house one night and films his most recent post in there. And as she's watching the video, she's like, "Oh, hey, I have that comforter. That's really weird." And then she does another thing where she's like, "Oh, that looks just like something I have on my dresser." But she's so mesmerized by him. She's mesmerized by him. Yeah, creepy. She doesn't realize it is actually her house until she gets home, and he has left his mask behind on her bed. That's what's creepy, and also kind of hot because apparently he's smoking. So this is how this starts. And so he breaks in, he leaves his mask, and it kind of just begins this relationship between them where she is terrified, but not terrified enough to tell him to leave her alone. Let me see if I've left anything out. No, they really begin to understand each other as they kind of begin this relationship or this friendship. He's like a golden retriever. He just wants to make everybody happy, and she is having to learn how to allow that to happen. There's some hilarious one-liners about her cat. They start calling him their child, which is hilarious because if you know me, I have fur babies, and my fur babies are our children. But that just really gives you kind of a good insight into what the book happens. There's a lot of, there's some gangsters included, like the mafia. There's, a serial rapist that's included that you'll just have to read to kind of see what happens with those. But it is a good read. I liked it so much that, I enjoyed reading it so much that I have more than my typical 3 quotes. I have several. So I'm going to start with those. And this is Allie talking and revealing her favorite mask handler. So my absolute favorite character was a user with the handle, the Faceless Man, because he had everything I loved most: a custom mask that was unlike anyone else's and was as sensual as it was terrifying, muscles, good lighting, exceptional music selection, an innate understanding of how to reel the viewer in and keep us begging for more. I had whole favorite sections devoted to his videos, and I routinely went back and rewatched them whenever I needed distraction after a bad shift. So again, we were talking about she has so many, and that's kind of how he also finds her, because with his hacking skills, he begins to realize that he goes to track her comments, and that's how he finds out she's commented on almost all of his videos. Mm-hmm. The next quote or section of the book is, or book snippet, I'll call it, is Josh finding out Allie has a mask kink. So it was happening. The day I dreaded since starting a secret social media account 2 years ago had finally arrived. My online life was colliding with my real one, and I was about to be found out. Play it fucking cool, man, I told myself. Tyler was watching me, and I couldn't let him see how freaked out I was. But fuck, Allie had a mask kink, and all those screenshots she could have sent my roommate, she had to choose this one. So that's where he's learning what she is asking for. So also, again, going back to Josh, looking at Allie's comments, he continues kind of a little later on in that chapter saying, Allie not only had a mask kink, but she liked one of my videos enough to leave the comment, "Sir, I'm at work. How dare you?" Had she left any others, I logged into my account on my computer and created a few lines of code that would search for her in my comment sections. There were so many returns, my head started to spin. She liked and saved and commented on almost every single one. All right, let's see. This one's a bit of a long one, but it's a good one. This is Josh. Again, soon after finding out about Allie's kink, he said, I rubbed my thumb over the head of my D when I reached the top, coating it in pre-cum before sliding my hand back down to grip the base again. My eyelids fell shut as I pictured Allie standing in her doorway, looking rumpled and tired after a long night, her eyes flashing wide with fear when she realizes she wasn't alone. Who's there? What do you want? I heard her call out in a quivering voice. In my head, I pointed the knife in her answer, you. She put her hands up. Just take what you want and get out. Please don't hurt me. I shook my head and tilted the knife towards the floor in an explicit command. She dropped her knees like a good little girl. I strode forward towards her, watching her chest rise and fall as I approached. Her eyes moved from my knife to my shirtless torso covered in blood, the black of her pupils inching out brown as her fear started to shift into lust. I stopped above her, staring down at her upturned face, reveling in the vulnerability of her position. Oh, so carefully, I placed the tip of the knife beneath her chin and tilted her face up as I unzipped my fly and let my D spring out. Her gaze lifted to the dark eye sockets of my mask for one breathless moment, and then her lips popped open and she leaned forward, suctioning that luscious mouthers around the head of my D. And I'm not going to keep going. I'm going to let you read and see what happens there. Again, this is just a fantasy that he's playing out in his head. The last quote kind of just explains a little bit about Allie and some decisions that she's making about her life. So my entire life was devoted to caring for others. I wanted someone to take care of me for once. I wanted someone to want me. No, need me. I wanted a man so obsessed that he tracked into cameras to watch me when he couldn't sleep. I wanted him to monitor my location data, order me a home security system so no one else could break into my house, and threaten to murder anyone who would hurt me. I didn't want him morally gray. I wanted someone with a soul as black as night, someone who would burn the world down for me and not lose a single minute of sleep over it. So those are some good quotes. What, honey? I see that face.
Y'all are fucked up.
Well, maybe a little.
Just a little.
Maybe just a little.
I mean, that's some stuff right there.
Listen, don't kink shame.
I'm not king shaming anybody, but god dang.
Just because it's not your vanilla doesn't mean it's bad. You're not vanilla, honey. I'm just kidding. All right. So a couple reader reviews. This one is from Laura, and hers says, when haunting Adeline meet Butcher and Blackbird. Now, I've not read Butcher and Blackbird, but that is on the TBR, so I will get to it soon. Laura says, 4.5 OMG. This book is the perfect mix of haunting Adeline and Butcher and Blackbird. And if you know me, you know that Butcher and Blackbird is one of my favorite all-time books. The dark side of the story is balanced out with so much humor that I was literally laughing out loud. To sum it up, Allie's a trauma nurse who's a huge fan of the Faceless Man, a guy who posts thirst trap videos of himself wearing a mask so no one knows who he is. Josh is a bit of an introverted hacker because of personal stuff. But he got his golden retriever vibe. Yeah, hard to picture, I know. And guess what else he does? Yep, he posts videos of himself wearing a mask on the internet. You see where this is going, right? Anyway, I loved this book, even though I thought it was a bit long at times with a lot of monologues or scenes that weren't really needed. I also have the audiobook, and I think listening to it will be even better and way funnier with Josh's reaction and all the voice channels or changes. It's like when I was reading this review, several people said they did it via audiobook. And so I might have to redo it. I rented this book from Libby, which is a digital library, and got it from my local library. So I know it has the book on there. Plus it also has the audio version of it. So I might just have to rent that one too. The next one is from Casey. It says, best book of the year so far for me. She says 5 stars and 5 spikes. I can easily see why this book went viral on Book Talk, and Lord help me, I'm so happy I decided to listen to the audiobook as my first introduction to this story. J.P. Morgan gave an absolute outstanding performance alongside with his equally talented co-narrator Elena Wolf. I went into this book blind. I'm not sure I managed to avoid any and all spoilers, but I did. And I think that just made it even better. What can I say about this book? I love Dally and Josh. Then you add in Fred the cat and you got a perfect story. And the last one, Jenny says, lights out, sticks with you. So this one surprised me. I originally gave it 3 stars because it didn't hit quite the way I expected while reading it. But the more time passed, the more I realized how much it stuck with me. That slow burn aftertaste of a book that worms into your head and refuses to leave. Yeah, Lights Out had that. It's a weird little hybrid dark romance meets rom-com, but somehow it works. The violence and edge and characters who have done genuinely messed up things, but it's also funny in this dry, often unhinged way. The banter feels real and sharp, and the chemistry has this low-level hum of danger under every interaction. And then, just when you think it's all chaos, it'll sneak up and gut punch you with something tender. I tend to agree with most of these reviews. I felt that it was a 5 jalapeno, baby. I'm gonna throw that super spicy up. So it did get 5 stars for me. I did rate the story 4 stars. It did take it was a little long for me. It took me to probably about 50% before I really finally got into my regular reading and zoomed through it. The other 50% in like an afternoon. So it did take me a little while, but then I started to realize that maybe I was trying to make it too dark and needed to really just accept it for the dark rom-com it was. And I think that helped. So I will say that with the spice, like I said, 5 ratings. There's lots of kink scenes. I mean, there's some great non-con. There is a knife play in chapter 14 that I'm not going to give anything away other than to tell you to hurry up to read to chapter 14. But it does have really good, spicy, kinky sex scenes. So that was always fun. Let's see. So I do want to ask you guys to remind you to go check out Nevessa Allen's social media. She's on Instagram as nevessa.allen. She's on Facebook and TikTok as Nevessa Allen. And then lastly, she's also on Patreon /Novessa Allen. My understanding is that if you pay, you can get snippets of her books as she writes them to kind of give you insight into it because she's going along. So if that's your thing, I think they had to sign up for $5, or you could buy some of those snippets for like $1. So please check her out. Provide her the support she deserves for working so hard. And that's what I have for you guys today. I have no idea yet what I'm going to do next week's review on, but I promise it'll be spicy, naughty, and good. Until then, you guys have a great week. I love you and see you soon.